Hello? Hello?
You live.
Okay. What's up?
Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to a conversation with Brother Raymond. Right now, we are having a problem. I'm going to try to straighten this out.
I can't hear.
Bear with
I
us for
can't
just
hear.
1 minute.
I can't hear. Yeah. Hello? Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me? Oh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome again to a conversation with Brother Raymond. I'm your host, Brother Raymond. We have a great show for you this evening. As you already know, we were talking about the urban communities becoming extinct. That was last week. And this week we're doing part 2. So as always, before I do anything, let's go open in prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you thanking you for waking us up in our right frame of mind, Lord, allowing us to live and breathe another day. Lord, we thank you for covering us through all the trials and tribulations. Lord, we just thank you, we honor you, and we magnify you. In your mighty precious Son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of a conversation with Brother Raymond. I'm your host. This is kind of a strange tradition because I can't hear. I used to can hear a lot, but anyway, nevertheless, we give our condolences out to anyone who's going through anything, and we also say happy birthday to a few of our friends, Sean Chu, who else? Oh, Ella Phillips. Who else? LeVerick Posley. If there's anybody else I missed, charge to my head, not to my heart. I just want to get right into it because I know it's a lot going on out here that a lot of us don't understand. So I want us to be clear on that. Um, what's going on is our communities are becoming extinct. And what I mean by that is the communities are not thriving. They're not um, uh, they're not thriving. They're not eventful. They're not producing leaders. And more, it's more set up for us to be producing um, addicts and um, people, people get locked up. So I don't know. I'm kind of blown by this, but anyway, I'm gonna work through it. So with that being said, we were just talking about it last week, giving an update on it to let people know if you wasn't informed that you need to be informed and you need to be aware of what's going on in your community. Now, with that being said, we need to educate, uplift, motivate, and inspire each other. Because at the end of the day, every one of us is still going to be better than any one of us. Meaning we have to unify, we have to come together, we have to work as a team, family. We really do. Our children are down at an alarming rate. Our community looks like a vacant land, meaning it's vacant apartments, it's trash everywhere, it's drug infested and gang infested. So we got to clean up our streets. And if we don't clean up our streets, ladies and gentlemen, our communities will become extinct. So I'm gonna go right back into it like I did last week. And one of the ones was they saying the phenomenon of urban communities facing extinction is becoming more apparent as urbanization and gentrification processes displays long established communities, eroding their cultural heritage and social networks and driving away residents. So what are they saying right there? They're saying that they're gentrifying our communities, right? As and when they gentrify our communities, that we're running away the residents. So all the normal all the residents who came up there, they're running them away because they're one, not able to pay their new rent. Two, property values are going up. And three, they're putting the drugs and the guns in our communities for us to hurt and kill each other and sell drugs to each other. So therefore, that's where the gentrification mark starts. Then after that, they can proceed to demolish whatever properties they have there in order to rebuild, restructure, and regentrify this community, but it won't be looking like you and I. So let's get into it. It's difficult to make the generalization about whether local officials have turned their backs on our urban communities, as it can vary from place to place and depend on many factors. However, there are certain cases where local officials may not be prioritizing the needs of urban communities, particularly those that have historical, marginalized, and underserved. They say historically marginalized and underserved. These are many reasons why this might be the case, including budget constraints, competing priorities, lack of understanding of the needs and concerns of urban communities, and political pressure. In some cases, there may also be issues with corruption or bias that can further undermine the trust between the local officials and the communities they serve. And when they're talking about that, they're saying about our politicians and the policemen. We don't trust them because we're being underserved. Our communities are not thriving, so we don't thrive with them. So we can't communicate with them. They can't communicate with us. So it's like a standoff. And when it comes to standoff, that means we don't get what we need in the urban community, and they don't get what they want. So as a result of all of that, what happens is they come up with a new plan, a new community with a new structure, and this is where the gentrification comes in at. Despite the challenges, it's most important to recognize that there are also many local officials, and check this out, who are working hard to support and strengthen urban communities and who are dictated to create more inclusive, equitable, and sustainable cities. By engaging with these officials, as well as community organizations and other stakeholders, it may be possible to build stronger partnership and advocate for policies and initiatives that benefit urban communities. Unity in the community, ladies and gentlemen. If we're to have anything or to save our communities, we must come together, but we must come together as a whole. We cannot continue to stand off and not work with the aldermen, work with the police. Oh, I understand how you feel, but in an effort to save our communities, this is a must. Okay, but we also must take credit and accountability for what we're doing in the community as well, and what we are allowing to go on in our communities. Despite these challenges, it's important to recognize there are also many local. Okay, I read that. It's important to recognize the residents of urban communities may face a range of challenges and barriers that may make it difficult to fully engage in civic life of their communities. The difficulties, the challenges, and barriers so that we can't engage into the civic life of our communities. These might include issues such as poverty, lack of access to education or health care, discrimination, and social isolation. Let's go there. Education. Our schools, the literature is outdated. Healthcare is sky high. Discrimination is on an all-time high. I mean, racism is plain and rampant. Ain't no, you don't know, you do know. They are stereotyping us, right? And they're locking us up. They locking us up for unprobable cause. I said unprobable cause, not probable. And social isolation, meaning they cut us out of the social things that's going on in our communities, ladies and gentlemen. And we have got to be aware of that. However, it is important not to assume that residents have given up on their communities simply because they may face these challenges. In many cases, residents of urban communities are deeply committed to their neighborhoods and are actively working to improve them. This might include organizing, community events, volunteering with local organizations, and advocating for policies and initiatives that support the needs of their community. That means we have to get involved. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we have to get involved. If we don't get involved, guess what? This doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. So we are saying to you that we asking you to come on and get involved. It is imperative that we do this. Moreover, it is important to recognize that the strength and resilience of urban communities often come from the collective efforts of residents who are committed to making positive change. Collective efforts of residents who are committed to making a positive change. I'm going to say that again. Collective effort of residents who are committed to making positive change. That means we got to stand up, ladies and gentlemen. By engaging with these residents, listening to their concerns, and supporting their efforts, it may be possible to build stronger and more vibrant urban communities that are better equipped to address the challenges that they face. See, if we work together and we get all the stuff did like we need to do, and we come face to face with these stakeholders and these politicians and all that, and we let them know that we are not going anywhere. We're here for the long haul, and we want to improve the conditions in our community. We don't want the drug dealers standing on the corner. We don't want the loud music. We don't want the drinking all day falling out. We don't want the fighting and the gun shooting and all that. We don't want that. We want to improve our community, and we're resilient, and we're standing up for it. And now we're asking you to come with us and stand as a whole community. And that's how things start to change, ladies and gentlemen. So with that, I got to go into violence and drugs. Has violence and drugs impacted the outcome of the urban communities? The answer is simply yes. We all know that growing up in the urban communities, that drugs and violence plays a major part wherever we go. And so with that being said, we have to also understand that even though it happens, we can change it. And it says violence and drugs have been significant. You hear that? Significant impact on urban communities. I'm going to say that again. Violence and drugs have had a significant impact on urban communities. In many cases, have contributed to the challenges faced by these communities. Some of the ways in which violence and drugs have impacted urban communities include: one, eroding communities, cohesion. Violence and drugs use can contribute to a breakdown of social connections and trust within a community, making it harder for residents to work together and to support one another. Bridget said they keep calling now before the election, but what about before and after? Exactly. Number two, undermining economic opportunities. Violence and drugs can create an environment that is not conducive to economic development, discouraging businesses from investing in the community and limiting job opportunities. We all know with the drug use and the drug selling and the violence perpetuated in our communities only adds for them to move around, or they'll build around us until they come in the middle and push us out. Number three, contributing to poverty. In some cases, violence and drugs can contribute to cycle of poverty that can be difficult to break as families struggle to provide for basic needs and may face additional expenses related to addiction or injury. Number four, creating public safety concerns. High levels of violence and drugs use can create public safety concerns both for residents of the community and for visitors. And we talked about this last week, how we have family members who want to come over and visit, but due to the violence and the drugs and the crime, they don't come because they're afraid of becoming a victim. And who can blame them when we, the people and the community, sit back and allow that to happen? This can discourage people from spending time in the community, further undermining economic opportunities. Number five, undermining public health. Drug use can also have negative impacts on public health, contributing to addiction, the spread of disease, other health-related challenges. We all know that addicts that use drugs, they share needles. Half of them don't regularly bathe. They don't do the necessary things that normal people do. So that becomes hazardous, and that's how diseases get spread amongst one another. It's important to recognize, and also before I go here, also the needles on the ground, the empty drug bags on the ground, the empty swishers and the backwoods and all that, all on the ground, that contributes to an unhealthy environment. It's important to recognize that the impacts of violence and drugs on urban communities are complex and multifaceted, and that there are no simple solutions to these challenges. However, by working to address these issues through a range of strategies, including community policing, nope, go back, community policing, prevention and treatment programs, economic development initiatives, and public health interventions, it may be possible to migrate the negative impacts of violence and drugs on urban communities and support the growth and development of our communities. So, community now needs real healing centers. Unhealed and stored trauma for generations. America, being founded on violence, has driven people to violence, drug abuse. If a politician said they can fix it, they can fix that, they are lying. That's right, Bridget. You're absolutely right. And even with organizations, here at Brothers Stand Together, we simply say we can help reduce violence, reduce unemployment, reduce homelessness, right? We can help reduce those things and help. We did unemployment, homelessness, recidivism. So these are the things that we help to stop. We can't stop anything. We can help reduce it. Violence, recidivism, unemployment, and homelessness. And that can create a better environment that can thrive a little stronger and much better than what it was. Katie, can we bring our guest on and see what concerns she may have? Hey, we have activist Jasmine Smith. Hey, Jasmine, how are you?
Good evening, everyone. Hey, Brother Raymond again.
Hey, okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Y'all can't hear me. I mean, y'all can hear me, but I can't hear me. So go ahead. So,
that's great.
What do you think, activist? As you've been an activist, what do you think about the impact in the urban communities?
Okay, so you touched a lot of topics. I don't think we're gonna have enough time. How long is the show again?
It's an album. But
Okay.
give us a brief synopsis of what you think of and how you feel about it, being that you be in the streets all the time. You advocate for so many different things that people don't know about that they'll learn about later on in the show.
Right. Okay. So I've been an activist. I'm gonna just say I've been an activist since 2021, and I came in fighting for my loved ones that are in prison, that was wrongfully convicted,
Mm-hmm.
and in a mix of me, because I'm going to do another show in the near future to speak more about that again. This is my second time with you, Brother Raymond, and since the first time, I've learned a lot about what's going on in the world, the politicians, from the schools to the drugs, to our communities, to the just the government itself, from the president on down. It's just the system is built the way they wanted it to be, and it's come from slavery times, come from before slavery times. How the world is schools. I'm just going to say how I feel about schools. That was your first, like you
Yes.
spoke about that. I feel like the schools literature is old, outdated, and they are Xing out a lot of our history
Okay.
that plays a major part in our youth learning about history. Our youth, first of all, schools was never really built for us to succeed in life. Um, and I'm going to speak about our brown people, our Black African American people, um, and a lot of other different races to a certain extent. I feel like they never put in schools for us to be able to learn finances, learn how to win, and this and in the United States, learn how to be uh entrepreneurs, learn how to handle finances, banking, credit. Like it's never been taught in school. Only thing been taught in school is what the Caucasians want us to know. At the
Okay.
end of the day,
Not to cut you off, activist. Let me ask you this: in your community, what do you see on a regular basis in your community?
on a regular basis, what I see in my community is all I seen in my community that I was raised in was poverty, was people living off of the Section 8, or low income, living off of the food stamps, living off of the medical that the government provides to a bare minimum. Like it's always, I was raised in low class, but and like killings, drug dealing, like everybody basically hustle to try to stay afloat, because what was provided, or what they were taught, was never enough for them to succeed, like I said, in this world, because it's not being taught in the schools. I feel like the schools need to be reorchestrated, like they rebuilt their sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
what they're what they're doing is defunding our schools, defunding these mental facilities for people who are really mentally, disabled. They're misdiagnosing our youth that goes into these schools, saying because they have behavior issues. And I'm gonna say this: when it comes to schools and our kids being taught in these schools, especially the ones that's being mishandled or being diagnosed with IEPs and stuff like that. It is a fact that it starts from, I'm gonna say it starts from home. If you raised in a home from poverty, if you raised in a home from families that was less thereof, or wasn't really taught, or only taught what the system want you to know you was raised the wrong way. So when you go to school and you acting up and you got these teachers, they put a lot of teachers in these schools that can't even relate with our kind, that's coming from homes that's broken homes, that don't have fathers, that don't have mothers, that's able to nourish and love and teach them the right teachings. So when they get in these schools and they're not being taught right, or the teachers are only teaching them the bare minimum and only what they're being told to teach our people. Like, you're going to keep getting men dropping out, women dropping out, going to the streets to try to sell drugs because their family's not able to make rent and things of that stuff. So when it comes to the schools, I just feel like because I don't really want to, like, it's gonna be a lot of controversy from my opinion when it comes to things. But what the white man how the white man, like, what they want us to be taught, how they take over the world, is to snatch your kids from out of the homes. And I heard it so many times, and I witnessed it, and I seen it. You take these kids from out of their homes before daylight even hit, put them in a school for 8 hours a day and teach them what you want them to know. That's how you take over the world. That's how you get drug dealers, killers. That's how you get poverty on a consistent basis, because they're not being taught how to succeed.
Okay. All right. So we're going to get into fatherhood as well. But I just want to touch on the young men that we see every day in the communities that's standing on the corners or by the stores, with their pants sagging and all that. So one of the things that we come up with like at BST is that we would rather teach them a trade. See, because we know a trade, they can have a trade for life, and they can be certified, whether in welding, painting, construction, carpentry, drywall, whatever it may be. And that can take the place of a lot of them that's not in school, right? And can help them to become productive members of society, because that's the key, is how many youth can we turn into productive members of society, because we know that the system it's against us. So we know that nobody has our best interests at heart, and we have to save we. So with that being said, these are some of the things, some of the steps that we can take together in order to, again, reduce recidivism, reduce violence, reduce unemployment, and reduce homelessness. So I'm just going to get into is the lack of fatherhood impacted the urban communities? The lack of fatherhood has been and identified as another significant issue in many urban communities. It has a range of negative impacts on individuals and families. Here are some of the ways in which the lack of fatherhood can impact urban communities. Family instability. The mother is doing the best she can to raise her children, right? But without a stronghold, there will be an uphill battle for her to save her young man, because she had him, but she can't raise him. So without the father there, that becomes another issue, to whereas our young men and women take to the streets because they don't have the discipline that's needed in the house. See, if I'm in the house, when I was in the house and I got loud and crazy, it was some form of man have to be there. Let me say that. It don't have to necessarily be a father, but it has to be a male figure that can instill great qualities in these young men and women that's coming up. So it says, the mother struggled to provide for her children alone. This can lead to a range of negative outcomes, including poverty, housing instability, and a lack of access to basic resources. Number two, emotional and behavioral challenges. Children who grow up without a father may be more likely to experience emotional and behavioral challenges, including depression, anxiety, and substance abuse. They may also struggle to develop healthy relationship with peers and authority figures. See, when that right there, it strikes me, because if we don't have healthy relationships with our children, then we can't talk to them. Okay. So with that being said, they when their peers talk crazy to them, they're ready to fight them, and they just don't respect authority. And it's not that they don't respect authority, it's the fact that they haven't been taught how to respect authority. So when we was coming up, it was yes ma'am, yes sir, no ma'am, how you doing, and things of that nature. If we were doing something we have no business doing, we stop immediately when we seen some adults. This day and age, it's not happening because the generational gap is so severe that they look at us as you hear them in the street. Hey, what's up, old head? You know what I'm saying? And we be like, what? But you have become that because that's how they look at us now. So it says the educational challenges, which you were talking about, children without fathers may be more likely to struggle in school, particularly in areas such as reading and math, which we know them the two obstacles. This can limit their future educational and career opportunities. So that's why when you were talking about going out to the streets, that's why a lot of them young brothers and sisters go out to the streets because they struggling. Because let me ask you this. How could you go to school in the morning, Sister Jasmine, and concentrate on school when you didn't even have food last night to eat? And then on top of that, you don't have breakfast. And then on top of that, your clothes may not be the best. Your shoes may not be the best. And yet you have to go to school and you have to sit there with your stomach growling and they're telling you to pay attention in class. So I just wanted to ask you, I just want to ask you that. And what do you think about that?
So, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying not to cut you off because when you going on and you hitting topics, it's like I want to give an answer right then and there because it'll slip my mind. But I'm gonna try to keep up as much as possible. So forgive me. But you asked the question, how can kids go to school and focus from the lacks of what they're not receiving the proper nourishment from home?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the thing. Again, because the only thing I could think of, like, why you not receiving what you receive, what you're supposed to be receiving from home, because it's generational curses.
Mm-hmm.
Generation, like every generation, like, and I can't say I honestly agree with what you said when it's like a big generational gap. It's never a gap. Every generation, the governor, the government, the system has a new way of doing things, a new way to distract our kind from not staying focused on what we should be focused on. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just always something that they coming up new with. Telephones, internet, social media, TikTok. They use the celebrities, what people in poverty look up to, want to be like, to distract us even more and to throw us off from what we need to be doing for ourselves wise to be better as humans and to love on each other. Like a lot of things that's going on in the world now, right now, is dividing us from love. There's no love. There's no support with our people. Now, when kids go to school and they coming from a home where there's no food ready, or the parents just not good parents, because some parents only repeating what they've been taught.
Okay.
They don't know what to teach their kids. They not even looking at, oh, it's a bigger picture out here. It's more knowledge to you learning. Our kids that's going to school with behavior problems, and these people say it's the cause without a father that they can't read, they can't do this. That is a lie. That is a distraction. If you get people in these schools that's like us, our colors, that can relate to our kids, that can nourish them in a way. No, you don't have to be their parent, but you do have to be their teacher. So whatever their parents isn't teaching them, and the knowledge that you're supposed to know to teach them and make these kids feel comfortable and safe in your classroom, it shouldn't be no problem with grabbing hold to these kids. If we had teachers being paid properly, so that's our colors, more Black people, more African American teachers in these schools with our African American kids, teaching them, nourishing them, they will be able to learn.
Okay.
They don't have no reading disabilities. Ain't nothing wrong with these kids.
So with that being said, we're going to go into the economic challenges. Without a support of a father, families may struggle to make ends meet, particularly in cases where a mother is the sole breadwinner. This can contribute to the cycles of poverty and economic instability. And with that is being said, it's like now the woman has to become the father and the mother, and she has to do all this stuff on her own. Not only that, she has to go out, she has to provide for her family. She has to, they got somewhere to stay. She got to make sure all the bills paid, there's food in there, the heat is on, so on and so forth. So that becomes a challenge with her. So this is one of the things we was talking about. So without the father, the male figure, and we know 9 times out of 10 why the male figure is not there is because it's designed for that to happen. So we understand that. So as you were talking about earlier with the Section 8, okay, in Section 8, they tell you that your significant other cannot live with you. So that's tearing away, that's tearing the family up. That's one way about it. And then another way about it, if the father is out in the streets selling drugs or gang banging or whatever the case may be, or if he downright just dismiss his children at this particular time for whatever reason. So there's many factors to all of this, and we just coming together just to shed some light on it, to know that we the people has a real responsibility when it comes to building up our community, because only we can save we. So with that being said, it also said it is important to recognize that the impact of fatherhood on urban communities is complex, and that there are many factors that contribute to the challenges faced by these communities. However, by working to support families and to promote healthy families, we can overcome these obstacles. And that's real. And this is what I always said. I will not let the wreckage of my past reflect on my future, nor will I allow you. Yeah, I know what I've done and I know where I've been, but I'm not there no more. And this is what we talk about becoming productive members of society. You have to give us a chance, because even in their laws, it says that once you commit a crime and serve your sentence, your rights will be restored. And we all know that our rights have never been restored to this day. It's an uphill fight for the man and the woman to become productive members of society, because we know it's not designed for that. And furthermore of that, it's like when we look at what's going on in our communities and in our society, while we harbor and we holler and we scream and we curse at the Europeans, we need to take that same energy and put it on ourselves. Because 9 times out of 10, we know the dope dealers, we know the people who's supplying the drugs, we know who's selling the drugs, we know who children's they are, and we walk blind like we don't see nothing. And then when things get out of control, we want to holler and scream and we want to complain. Although we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this was designed, we also have a responsibility not to let it take place. Not where we're to do all we can so that it don't get out of control, because now it's to a point where our children can't play on the streets. Our children can't play in the parks. Our children can't go to the basketball courts. Our children can't go to parties. Our children can't do anything of what we used to do when we were coming up. And that's only because we as a people are not fully engaged in the scientific change that we talk about, that we want to see all the time. So, with that being said, that while the Europeans have responsibility, we have responsibility. I listen. Our communities were more thriving and more productive than any communities in this world. When you talk about Black Wall Street, when you talk about Rosenwald, when you talk about these communities, we had our people in place, and that's the reason why they destroyed it, because it was we were thriving. They don't want to see us thrive, so that's where the drugs and all that stuff come in at as well.
Brother Raymond, if I can jump in.
You can jump.
So I just want to say this. Number one, I just look at all the millionaires, all the wealthy people that's come from I'm in Chicago, so I'm gonna say that's came from Chicago
Uh-huh.
and done the bare minimum to actually come back and try to grab a hold of what's going on in our city. In Illinois, Illinois is very big. I'm gonna say that Chicago, Illinois.
Yeah.
The thing is, and speaking of what when you say us, a lot of people know why the drugs, who put the drugs here, and what's going on when it comes to uh, um you know, the poverty and all that.
Drugs in
A
the
lot
game.
of people
Go
a
ahead.
lot of people don't a lot of people don't know, because a lot of people's been trained to not even pay attention or to even look that far as to what's really going on. Again, a lot of people only do what they see, only do what they're being taught. Like a lot of our people pay more attention to the news. Listen, and not taking away from anybody. Like, I don't know I don't even like, I ain't even gonna say I don't really care when it comes to religions. In a way, I am a God-fearing woman. I've taught myself and grown myself to be in a Christian church, but looking at the bigger picture outside of these spiritual places where we dedicate so much of our blood, sweat, tears, times, numbers, a collective number. My church that I go to is a big church and bring out thousands, do you hear me, of our people. But I've never in my years of being a part of any church or any church that I visited outside of my church seen any one of these religions get out here or promote in their sermons to fight for injustice, to fight for wrongful convicted, to fight for get out here with these activists and stand them lines and do these marches to get justice for our men and our women of our kind that's being in them prisons, being tortured, that these kids are left without because the corrupt system has snatched these people out of their homes and put them back in chains and shackles in them prisons. Them prisons ain't nothing but another slave ship. So we go talk about change and people being.
Not to cut you off, I want you to seg right into that, because you touched on that. So I want you to go right into the work that you do. We got a few minutes, so talk about the work you do and how you helping to reduce some of these things. Let's talk about that.
Whew, okay. Well, I am with an organization right now that's been around for years, that started right around the time of the Angela Davis big thing, and I'm with Carper. They originally was CPAC. Now people like for short is Chicago Alliance. I am an executive board member of one of our campaigns. It's called CFIS. That's Campaign to Free Torture Incarcerated Survivors.
Okay.
Wrongfully convicted survivors. Anybody that's been like like tortured by the hands of the police. And Chicago is like the number one capital of wrongful convictions, but yet these officers that's been deemed like not credible or that's been exposed are still able to hold their jobs, hold their pensions. Like no one is really
I want you to give
like,
us negative what you're doing because we're gonna save that for the show next week.
oh, okay. I'm just fighting. I'm fighting for our people. I'm trying to wake up as many as our people to come on board with me and my organization and to just bring more awareness, like on an everyday basis, weekly basis, monthly basis to these elected officials that's appointed and that's supposed to be helping our kind and to do the right thing by our men that's in prison, our women that's in prison, that's fighting. You know what I'm saying? So that is what I'm doing. Far as right now, I have a lot of things that I do. I have a nonprofit organization that I'm trying to get off the ground for halfway housing, re-entry program, the correct way, not for the money, but to teach our men and our women that they don't have to go back to drugs. They don't have to go back to the streets. Here's your resources. Here is a Black-owned company that you can go to and that you can make what you're worth, that you can provide for your family. And that's what we're lacking, Brother Raymond. We lacking a lot of Black-owned businesses that's really in it to bring in our kind, to give them a second chance, to give them hope that they can do this, that they can be owners, that they can be entrepreneurs. So I'm just in it to motivate all around the board to bring our people in so they don't have to go back to the streets and sell drugs or get hooked on drugs or drink, because what these jobs, like you say, get trades and stuff like that, these trades to a certain extent only go so far for men who have backgrounds, because guess who's the owners of these companies? White men, Jewish people, Jewish people that don't want to see Black people in control or in power or to really teach them how to get their own. So the thing is, us as Black people need to get brown people, African American people want to address us, needs to get our own companies that's really going to help our people.
Okay.
Again, we ain't had a Black Wall Street in years. We need to bring that back.
I'm glad you said that because Sister Laverne and a few other companies, Black-owned companies, are starting up the Black Wall Street on Roosevelt. And a lot of us, all who's in Chicago, you can get involved. You can go up there. They're doing great things, great things. Laverne Herring, all you got to do is look her up, and she's doing phenomenal. They're creating a new Black Wall Street. And as far as the trade goes, sister, what I was illustrating was the trade creates entrepreneurship so that they don't have to depend on any other man to supply them. This is why the skill is so significant and it's so vital to us, because now something that you learn, they can't take from you. And you
That
can
is okay.
this anywhere you go. So you can pick up, you ain't got to be in Chicago, you got to be in New York, you got to be in Houston, you got to be in Dallas, wherever you go in the world. We want you to understand that this is your gift, your entrepreneurship. You can create your own company. And this is the reason why trades is so significant right now. This is why the STEM program is so significant right now for our youth and our young adults and older adults as well, because you're absolutely right. There are not enough Black companies. But with that also being said, to be the spoiler, it's not enough support for the Black companies that's out there. We would take our dollar right past the Black company and take it to the Chinese, the Koreans, the Arabs, the white man, and everybody else. And
You're
yet,
absolutely right.
and we would complain and say that we're not getting enough of this, we're not getting enough of that, because our dollars are not circulating with the Black companies, right? And it's
That
going
part.
right out of our communities. Ain't nobody putting nothing back in our communities, and nobody cares for our community. So again, with the urban communities, and they talk about the unity of it, we have to support Black companies. Okay, Jasmine price may be a little higher than the price down there, but this is sister. I know if we build her up, I'm building me up. I'm building up a child that's coming up who will be inspired to come into a Black-owned store knowing that they look just like us. See, this is what we got to get into, but we have to also get into the notion of supporting each other and trust. Trust is a number one factor that kills us dead in the water because we don't trust each other. See, the Europeans will take 5,000, 5,000, 5,000, 5,000, 5,000, and they'll put theirs together and they'll go get this building. Then they'll renovate that building, turn that building into a restaurant or office building or whatever, and that's generational wealth. This is what we're talking about creating. And this is why the new Black Wall Street on Roosevelt, Laverne, and so many others is significant that you guys that's in Chicago need to go and visit and tap into. See on Facebook and the renovation room and all that. This is good stuff out there. We have to connect and we have to work together. So I understand that, and I feel your flight, and I understand your pain to that. But at the reality of it is we don't support us. So how can we talk SHIT about anybody else when we're not doing what we're supposed to do for us in the first place? Because as you stated earlier, you said it starts in the home. Well, it starts right here. This is who we are. So when I see Jasmine working hard or she has a company, I need to go support that company. Not if it's only to volunteer, if it's only to give $30 or $40 or whatever the case may be. These are the things we have to do, even with the organizational structure that's going on out there. We have to get out of that. I want to me. It's all about me. I ain't got time. I got to take care of me first. But again, I'm going to say this before we close. We got about 4 minutes. Every one of us is better than any one of us. And it will always be, no matter what we do, Jasmine, no matter where we go, if we don't unify together as a people, we're not going to have what we need. And guess what? Our children will continue to suffer. Our urban communities will continue to become extinct because they're coming extinct across the country, not just in Chicago, Baltimore, New York, Cincinnati, Dallas, Houston. They're becoming extinct, and we're not paying attention to what's really going on because, like you say, we're so busy trying to be in the social limelight that we are way behind on what's really going on.
They pay more attention to what the celebrities is rapping about and what these superstars they trying to be so much like them. That's why we so divided. And your number one key thing is trust, because you got a lot of Black entrepreneurs that mess up people's trust. Okay, fine, move on from that one. But you still got a lot of more other struggling Black entrepreneurs that's in it for our people, that's in it for the right reasons that our people lack the knowledge of really trying to even get to know.
And that's the whole thing, and that's the key point about that. And this is what we're going to work on. We're going to be doing a show not next week, but the week following with Brother Eric. I see Brother Mello over here, and so a few other brothers, and we're going to be talking about Brother Mello came up with a significant piece. It's called Resources. And when y'all hear this piece, y'all going to love it. The brother dropped some gems. He dropping jewels, and I think that you all need to tune in. It's not next week. It's the following week. Next week is your week, and you're going to talk about what you're doing and how you're doing and how you help create an opportunity for the returning citizens who've been wrongfully incarcerated have the opportunity to come home. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't want to miss the show. Next week with Jasmine, the activist Jasmine Smith, she's going to be dropping some gems as well, letting you know about the fight. And remember what she said earlier is key. She's only been in this fight a year. So if she's only been in this fight a year, and we have activists and all this other stuff been there for many, many years, that's saying something. We ain't gonna go there for a whole nother topic, a whole nother show. But I just want them, if they looking for you.
We need to speak about that, Brother Raymond.
We will. That's another show though. But where can they find you at?
They can find me. I have different social sites.
Give us your email. Give us something.
Oh, right. Okay. So my email is Jasmine_Smith 89@yahoo.com. That is like my main email that I go to. My telephone number is 773
Hold it. Do you have a business number?
773
Okay.
727 5228. I can be contacted pretty much at any time when it's dealing with business.
What medias? You on social, Instagram? Where you at?
Yes, I'm on Instagram. My Instagram is, oh, I'm sorry, guys.
Got to roll. We only got 3 minutes. Let's roll it. Let's rock
Okay.
it.
My Instagram is Sergeant_Brian_Forberg_victims. So that is my Instagram. And my Facebook is Justice Peace. And that's why I could be contacted at.
Okay. Brother Eric said, too many kings and queens in the streets and the clubs, but very little kings and queens in the homes. You're absolutely right. Shout out to the American activist Eric Russell, my brother. He's always supporting BST. We love you, man. We love you. I see Dorian. I see a lot of you guys. I thank y'all for y'all support. And Sister Jasmine Smith, a young activist, just came on. She'll be on the show again next Friday. A full disclosure of what she does and how she's making a difference and an impact in the lives of the returning citizens, men and women is incarcerated, wrongfully convicted, and now she's about to embark on something real huge. I'm not gonna give it to y'all. Y'all will have to wait till next Friday to tune in to see what she's about to embark on. This young sister has taken great leaps and bounds since the last time we have talked and we have collaborated. So I am very proud of you. I thank you. I appreciate you, and we support you. So if you want to find out what's going on with Jasmine Smith, the activist, tune in next Friday at 7 p.m. at a conversation with Brother Raymond. And this is my special guest. She will be my special guest. I asked her to come in on Urban Communities Becoming Extinct because I want y'all to get the introduction of what y'all are about to witness, because y'all are about to witness history and y'all don't even know it. But with that being said,
that part.
You can reach BST. You already know, Brothers Stand Together 09@gmail.com. We on Instagram, Twitter, what else? Facebook. What else we on? Some other stuff. We all over the place. We all over social media. And if you need us, you can call us at 312-662-2038. Again, 312-662-2038. Shout out to Katie Lowe, my partner in crime, who always rock with BST. The BST non-for-profit organization is doing great things. We are feeding the community. We're helping the homeless, and we're also helping the elderly. So support BST Incorporated as well as BST LLC, because we are making a difference in our communities and in our society. And we hope that you continue to join us and support us and follow us as we continue to grow and strive. Shout out to Monthly Helping Hands and Brothers Standing Together. We'll be feeding the homeless tomorrow here in Houston, and we'll be having clothes for our homeless people, and we'll be giving out leads and things of that nature in order to help them become productive members of society. Ladies and gentlemen, until then, you have witnessed a conversation with Brother Raymond. I love you, and nothing you can do about it. Until next week, peace and love. Come on, Katie Lowe, take us home, take us home, take us home.